עלינו עכשיו לקטע וידאו נוסף, כמובן הפוסט האחרון עלה, הביא איתו גם תגובות, כל מי שלא רוצה לראות את האמת או לנסות אפילו לבדוק אותה, יש לו מין כזה מסך עשן מולו, קשה מאוד לשנות את דעתו, אבל מי שעדיין כן רוצה להגיע לחקר האמת, בואו תראו את הקטע הבא, שימו לב לזה, הפעם זה גם הגיע בליווי כתוביות בעברית, לכל מי שזה יעזור לו קצת יותר ככה לקבל אינפורמציה, דוד אהוב משה בכר שלח לנו את זה, ושימו לב איך התקשורת האמריקאית, יומיים אחרי מסיבת העיתונאים שבאמת הביאה אינפורמציה מאוד חשובה, התקשורת האמריקאית מתעלמת לחלוטין בשיטתיות, ומי שכבר מגיב בצורה כזאת סינית ונמוכה, ומשתמש אפילו במילים שעד היום לא השתמשו, חצו קו. אני יכול להגיד לכם באחד מהסעיפים שג'וליאני נתן, הוא אמר גם שאנשים הגיעו לבחירות ולא ביקשו מהם ID. נשמע תמוה, לי זה קרה באופן אישי, אני הגעתי לבחירות לבחור ולא ביקשו ממני ID, אמרתי להם יש לי פספורט, I have like driver license, לא, הם לא רצו לראות ID, זאת אומרת כל אחד היה יכול להיכנס, להגיד את שמי ולבחור מה שהוא רוצה. הזוי, משהו שתמוה ביותר ואמור לעלות כאילו סימני שאלה גם לכל הצדדים. משהו רע מאוד קורה, אני שוב חוזר ואומר, שימו לב לקטע הבא, שתפו, תעבירו, אני אמשיך לתת פה עדויות, אני אמשיך לתת פה את צעקתי, גם אם היא תמשוך אש מכל מיני חברים טובים שחושבים אחרת. שימו לב לזה, חשוב מאוד לא לעמוד מנגד, לא לשתוק, לעמוד על המשמר, כי משהו רע מאוד קורה פה באמריקה, לחופש הביטוי ולדמוקרטיה. בואו נראה את הקטע הבא, שתפו, תעבירו את זה הלאה, כי זה חשוב. בבקשה.
More on that press conference. You know, Rudy Giuliani, well, he goes on cable TV and sometimes all hell breaks loose, but today he was very, very effective, backed up by his team members there. This is Rudy Giuliani today at RNC headquarters in Washington, D.C.
This is not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states. To any experienced investigator, prosecutor, would suggest that there was a plan from a centralized place to execute these various acts of voter fraud. Each one of these cities are cities that are controlled by Democrats, certainly control the election board completely, and they control law enforcement, and unfortunately, they have some friendly judges that will issue ridiculously irrational opinions. Well, they were good. I don't know that they were that good because they made significant mistakes, like all crooks do, and we caught them. Why would you not allow people to carry out the function they've been allowed to do for 50 years, 60 years? Why wouldn't you allow inspections of those ballots?
All great points, and he had a lot to say to the media.
I know you keep reporting falsely that we have no evidence, that we have no specific acts of fraud. That's because the coverage of this has been almost as dishonest as the scheme itself. The American people are entitled to know this. You don't have a right to keep it from them. And it's tolerated because you condone it in the press, and you don't cover it, and you don't condemn it. And it shouldn't happen to a Republican or a Democrat. A lawyer shouldn't have to withdraw from a case because he's representing the President of the United States. 4 affiants here, those are people who give affidavits, report an incident that under any other circumstances would have been on the front page of all your newspapers if it didn't involve the hatred that you have, irrational, pathological hatred that you have for the President.
That is inarguable. If you think back to the phony Russia investigation and everything they led with, breaking news for nothing. The treatment they're showing the president right now, it's ridiculous. And he summed up today very, very powerfully. More from Rudy Giuliani.
We let Al Gore carry on an election dispute longer than this one has been going on for one state and for Chad's. This happened in Pennsylvania, it happened in Michigan and Wisconsin. We have overvotes in numerous precincts of 150%, 200%, and 300%. In fact, we have precincts in which 2 times the number of people who live there, including children, voted. That's absurd. We let this happen, we're going to become Venezuela. Give us an opportunity to prove it in court, and we will.
Overvotes, by the way. If you heard that phrase, not enough. When more people vote than are registered to vote in a particular county. He was extremely impressive. The mainstream media, despicable in their reaction. This was a serious press conference that went on for about 90 minutes. The media, wow, once again, they showed their true colors. They have neither the resources, the time, the inclination. They don't have anything. What they do have is attitude and sarcasm, and that's what they put on display today. I want to show you a tweet from Jonathan Karl. This is the head, the president of the White House Correspondents Association. You don't get more establishment journalists than this. This is what he said. Unfortunately, as Rudy begins to sweat, his hair coloring is streaking down the sides of his face. Some of the most interesting, shocking, troubling allegations, detailed. He's explaining what he can make public and what he can't. It would generate curiosity, shouldn't it, among a healthy press corps? Not this one. They just wrote it off because they're too invested in Donald Trump losing. If he wins, they lose big time. They may not be around for much longer if he wins. Listen to this.
It has been a bad week for the Trump legal team that actually right now is holding a press conference that is so bananas we can't even bring it to you because it's just so full of BS.
They're afraid to let the audience make that decision. Took it off, huh? Again, attitude. Oh, she got to say BS on TV. But this was possibly the most galling thing that I saw today. Fox News used to be an alternative. They consciously stepped away from what the mainstream media were doing. This is one of their White House reporters on the North Lawn of the White House today, and what she said about one of America's most illustrious prosecutors ever.
Well, that was certainly a colorful news conference from Rudy Giuliani, but it was light on facts. So much of what he said was simply not true. He opened by making this really bold and baseless claim that a lot of this alleged nationwide voter fraud that he's referring to all came from one centralized place.
It's bold and baseless because someone didn't go to her and knock on her door and show her, hey, here's the evidence. Whatever happened to pursuing leads? This is big. And for all of them to just dismiss it, especially Fox, the nerve that they have, the arrogance. This reporter, I think she was in nursery school back when Rudy Giuliani was breaking up the mob here in New York City, when he was busting insider trading rackets on Wall Street. And she's not impressed by the colorful news conference. I am not impressed with her, Fox News, or just about anybody else in the mainstream media these days. They are fighting desperately for their survival. Oh, a couple of other items that I found interesting. Rudy brought it up today. You know, Joe Biden did admit to a voter fraud scheme in the works just a couple of weeks ago before the election. He did. He said it out loud.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Is that just Joe being Joe? I mean, just another of his many gaffes, or is that a Freudian slip of some kind? I think he was telling the truth. How about Hillary Clinton? Remember this? Don't concede, Joe Biden, no matter what happens. Never, ever concede.
Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances because I think this is going to drag out, and eventually I do believe he will win.
Eventually, I do believe he will win after we get all those ballots in there, the mail-in ballots, once they're counted. She just didn't think they'd be as successful in cheating as early as they were. Okay? That's what happened. Isn't it amazing that they give the president less respect in his legal maneuverings and challenges than they gave O.J. Simpson, an accused murderer? They never would have said that he was guilty ahead of time or that there's absolutely no evidence that would help him. They developed TV shows about the evidence that could help him. Amazing, right? What has happened in the past 25 years.